Hello, everybody. So today's lesson is for Monday, March 31st. So the first day after we return from spring break. So hope everybody had a very nice, relaxing spring break. And today, as you see on my screen here, we're going to take a closer look back at the labor movement through an AI role-playing game, which I'll explain this a bit. So if you recall way back before when we last met, we completed a reading and set of annotations on this document here, all about the labor movement. Okay, so we should have completed reading, annotations, and set of reading questions for this handout here. So today we're going to be kind of pulling information from that reading. Okay, so hopefully you all remember at least something from that reading about the labor movement. Okay, and the big activity today is a role-playing game. Okay, so your worksheet right here should be available on Google Classroom. There should be a handout for each of you in the classroom. Okay, so you can refer to this, or you can kind of follow along with this video as you like. So I will pull up this right here and explain this game to you. So our activity is called The Price of Progress. Right, it is an AI-powered RPG, a role-playing game, all about the historical labor movement, where you are going to be playing a character, a role within that labor movement. Okay, so I'm just going to read through some context here so you can follow along with me on your handout or on the screen. So last class, we read about the beginnings of the labor movement in the United States. As hopefully you will recall, after the end of the Civil War, the United States began to transform, with its population shifting dramatically away from rural towns and more towards growing industrial cities like Chicago, like New York, like Boston, like Cleveland, like Detroit. Towering factories churned out goods at an incredible rate, fueled by a growing immigrant workforce. But for the men, women, and children working within these steel giants, these big giant factories, the American dream quickly transformed into a very harsh reality. Long hours, unsafe conditions, and meager pay became the norm for them. From this challenging experience, the American labor movement emerged. Recognizing their collective power, workers began to organize, banding together in labor unions to fight for better wages, safer working conditions, and a shorter 8-hour workday. Today, we are going to return back to our old friend ChatGPT to engage in a role-playing game, an RPG, to help us to experience this era firsthand. In this role-playing activity, right, where you are going to be taking on a character, we'll dive into 1886 Chicago to live through this era from the perspective of a young immigrant worker dealing with the injustices of the factory system and the expanding movement for change. Throughout the experience, you'll face tough choices. You're going to tackle social issues and deepen your understanding about this critical period in U.S. history. So for this activity, you have two main goals. First, I want you to understand and evaluate the origins of the labor movement. So where did it come from? Why did it occur? Okay. And what were the experiences of the immigrants living during this time? So what were their life like? What were their choices like? Etc. And then second, I want you to be able to assess different labor reform strategies for their effectiveness and their outcomes. So in other words, what people were able to do to try to fight back for their rights. What were they doing, whether or not you think that those were effective or ineffective. So I want you to analyze and then to assess the effectiveness of those strategies. Okay, as you navigate this RPG, you're going to be given several choices that you're going to have to make throughout this story. Okay, so as you make those choices, I want you to think carefully about the choices and then to explain your decisions in at least 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, so not very short, 1 word or two-word answers. I want you to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay, so here's a hypothetical example unrelated to this activity. For example, if your character, for whatever reason, is asked whether or not you want to join an alien mothership, okay, which you shouldn't be if this game works correctly. You should make a choice. Yes, you want to join. No, you don't want to join. And then briefly explain why you're making that choice. So here's a hypothetical response, okay? So this person writes, yes, I want to join the aliens on their mothership because it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn from a civilization far more advanced than ours and to bring that knowledge back to Earth. Also, joining that mothership is a chance for me to meet some cool new friends with beings from another galaxy, and maybe even find my alien soulmate. This opportunity aligns perfectly with my character's thirst for adventure and belief in the importance of building bridges between different cultures. So you'll see there that this person not only made a choice, but explained the rationale, the reasoning behind their choice that they made, okay? I want you to follow that example in each of the choices that you make, each of the 7 SEC choices you're going to have to make, okay? As your story develops, you're going to have to make several choices. After you have made at least 7 choices, you can go above 7, but no less than 7. After you have made 7 choices, I want you to share the link like we have done before on Google Classroom, and then complete a reflection, okay? So here is our prompt, which I'll return to in just a bit. And here are our 5 reflection questions. Okay, again, I want you to respond to each of them to demonstrate what you learned from this experience. Okay, and I'm not going to go over reading each of these because I know you know how to read, and I want to make sure that you can jump into this game as soon as possible. So let's take a look back at our prompt. Okay, like always, I want you to copy this prompt. For you, this should be available on Google Classroom, so you don't have to type it all in. Okay, and then we are going to go to ChatGPT, and I'll delete the old one because I've done this once already. Paste in our prompt, hit enter, and you'll see here a character background is being developed. So my character's name is Luca Romano. I'm a 19-year-old Italian immigrant in Chicago. Okay, some information here about who my character is, some background information about the scene, what's going on in this little world, the story, and then the first decision I'm going to have to make. Okay, so I'm going to have to either join a meeting or politely decline. And again, using the example that I provided about those space aliens and the mothership, I want you to explain the decision that you're making and why you're making that decision in 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, think back to that character background information that you're given at the very start. All right, so I hope that you have fun with this activity. Please make sure that you complete this. You work hard, you're focused, that you complete this and submit both the reflection and the link to your chat before our next class. So thank you and have fun.